Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of Is Strategic Portfolio Management the Future of PPM? How OnePlan provides a crawl, walk, run approach to this evolution. This webinar is a new addition to our series of strategic portfolio management webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thank you, Robert, and welcome everybody. This topic is about the future and where the future is going in the area of portfolio management and project management. And the question is strategic portfolio management the future of PPM? And no matter where we're at in our journey to mature as project and portfolio management organizations in our disciplines, we need to be able to start where we're at and have potentially a crawl, walk, run approach to this evolution to take advantage of where the market is headed and the benefits that it provides. And that's the focus of our presentation today. As far as traditional project and portfolio management, we're not tossing that all aside. PPM has advanced organizations over the last couple decades and really has advanced our capabilities and our effectiveness as organizations. Some of the things it's helped us do is provide more clarity and consistency to project management activities. It's helped us define clearer objectives that we're going to pursue. It can make our planning operations for all the projects and initiatives we have more realistic and complete and have a bigger picture. But also, for many organizations, have helped us optimize the allocation of resources that we need to successfully complete these things. And it also, because of that visibility and because of the communication that it provides, improves the quality of our deliverables through better visibility and reporting. And I would say starting into, because many organizations still aren't doing this today, the concept of strategic alignment of projects. And we'll talk about that as where that fits into the overall crawl, walk, run approach. Now, the next thing beyond the traditional PPM with portfolio visibility and having all of our projects invisible in one place is really that next step of aligning strategy with execution. And the Gartner groups talks about this as strategy execution, with strategy being a set of processes involving people, processes, and operations, and as a system of developing that strategy and then aligning those things to the operational plans and the project execution plans that we have, so that we show that the things we're executing on are going to deliver value towards the overall arching strategy that an organization has and that leadership wants us to go with. The idea is delivering well, but delivering well on the right things that are going to add the right value. So the next step that many organizations need to take is really get better with the strategic alignment. Now, the next step beyond that, and we had this in the title slide, strategic portfolio management. And what does that mean? Commonly referred to as SPM. And it's in a set of business capabilities. And as organizations move from more departmental PMOs to more enterprise portfolio management offices, or EPMOs, we need to have more enterprise-wide strategy to execution alignment, so that when we do these things, we're making sure that we're working on the right things and adjust as needed in the context of the overall needs of the business. So instead of just aligning our projects to strategy, say, we may need to align and have association of our projects to other dimensions, such as business capabilities that we have or that we want to have, programs, digital or physical products as we go into product development, applications that we have that may be dependent on what we're going to do, or that we may need modifications in those applications to succeed in our projects, and they should all be aligned with those projects. So the concept here in the full SPM is to define and prioritize business strategies and then manage the execution of initiatives and projects that drive the achievement of those strategies, and also provide full visibility into the management of core IT and other assets of an organization that need to be associated or factored into our decisions or into our developments. And the solution really supports three key stakeholders. There's leadership, who sets the direction, the IT management, who owns those assets in many digital organizations today, and then the execution teams that have to deliver on those projects and initiatives. So some of the key attributes of a strategic portfolio management solution is really that we need to have portfolio alignment, meaning the alignment to all these other dimensions to the degree that we're capable of as an organization. And having value-driven decision-making, meaning are the things that we're delivering or the projects that we're working on, are they going to deliver the necessary value, whether it be financial, maybe more soft benefits, or maybe the value of helping the organization move the ball forward into achieving a strategy or direction that it's going to overall. And it also has to provide ongoing portfolio flexibility, because in this modern age, the landscape is changing, our constraints are changing, economies are changing, and we have to have ongoing portfolio flexibility, so we're not just dealing with a static annual operating plan. We need to be adjusting and evaluating all the way through. Now, in this shift towards SPM and enabling that organizational agility, there is an increasing pace of change in environmental turbulence in organizations, and they need to respond quicker than they ever had to in the past. Key findings by the Gartner Group was that only 16% of organizations are highly effective at all three attributes of an SPM solution. So there's an opportunity for many of us, so the vast majority of us, to improve. A fragmented approach to these things can lead to negative outcomes like excessive costs due to conflicting priorities, or even redundant things that we're doing maybe in different parts of the organization, let alone misaligned goals that may have us working on the wrong things altogether. And if we don't have strategic alignment and we don't have a focus on achieving strategy, we could let the operational demands of the day-to-day and the things that we have to do to keep the lights on could unintentionally pull the enterprise away from its strategic objectives and sap the energy that we need towards achieving those into more operational ongoing needs. So the Gartner Group made some interesting planning assumptions and surveys, and they said that by 2025, 70% of digital investments will fail to deliver the expected business outcomes due to the absence of strategic portfolio management approach. Now, there's always been these type of statistics on projects that fail on different dimensions, but given that we're moving into this digital age, it becomes more important that we factor in these other elements. And by 2024, they're saying that the enterprise program or portfolio management offices will have that purview across the organization so that they can be on the lookout and rapidly sense changing conditions and become that central nervous system as we need to change and adjust along the way. They also said that by 2024, 80% of digital businesses will integrate SPM and execution technologies into what they're doing to achieve the business outcomes that they want. So interesting that this is not something that we're just postulating on, but we're basically saying that the analysts are finding that this is where the market is headed. And where it is, strategic portfolio management in the Gartner hype cycle is in that early innovation trigger stage, meaning it's still emerging. It's not too late for us to get on the bandwagon or feel like we're being left behind. As you can see, things like Agile project management and adaptive project management reporting have gotten over that initial hump and the peak of inflated expectations. But the idea is that if you're going to get into this now, it's the time where everybody else is growing into this. Now, we're going to talk about OnePlan as a solution today. And OnePlan is designed to provide a path to strategic portfolio management and meet you wherever you're at to get you started on that journey. The idea is not to be intimidated by the fact that maybe the full strategic portfolio management approach encompasses more than we feel that we're prepared to tackle today. The idea is to start where you're at, start somewhere, and then build your roadmap into the growth to whatever level of that you'd like to get to. So if we think about this, we've got the strategy piece in strategic portfolio management that is the business leaders and our leaders that are setting that strategy and even executing and managing that strategic plan. We have the execution piece where the execution leaders, our PMOs and our project and program managers, are executing on delivering the things that help support those strategies. On the technology side, our IT leaders also own the assets and the applications and things that enable some of this digital advancement that we need. And they have to be in lockstep in keeping pace with where we want to go as an organization, or we have to factor in any constraints we have there in what we plan on doing and what we think we're going to deliver. So OnePlan is designed to meet you where you are. And we're going to talk today in the concept of a crawl, walk, run approach. Different organizations are at different places in their organizational readiness or their PPM maturity, say, for example. Hopefully we'll show you here today that in our concept of a crawl, walk, run, that OnePlan is ready and able to start you where you're at, but get you to those other ones. So even if you have maybe lighter needs at front, OnePlan can provide you a platform that allows you to grow into the level that you aspire to at some point when you're ready to execute on that. And part of the reason for this is that, we are in an age of agile transformation. And in the agile transformation journey, oftentimes people are starting from the right and moving to the left here from this green, more traditional project portfolio management that tended to be more of a pure waterfall world with more traditional governance and portfolio management concepts. And many organizations are trying to become more agile and more nimble. And they may aspire to get all the way over to the left here into the dark blue to full agile portfolio management. And that journey generally takes years for most organizations to get that accomplished. What that means is, as you're in that journey, you're going to pass through, at least at a minimum, an adaptive portfolio management stage whereby you're doing a little bit of agile, a little bit of waterfall, some hybrids. And it may be transitionary for you if you're aspiring to get all the way to a full agile portfolio management concept. But the analysts like Gartner and others are finding that most organizations, the vast majority of organizations, end up here permanently in the adaptive portfolio management realm, where they need to accommodate a variety of things. And the idea here again is that OnePlan is designed to support you whether or not you're doing traditional project portfolio management, agile portfolio management, or adaptive portfolio management. So OnePlan does provide you with pre-configured solutions. They provide you the ability to connect from that strategic level all the way down to the detailed execution level. In this graphic here, I'm showing a very Microsoft-centric view of the world. Now, make no mistake, OnePlan can do all these things in OnePlan itself, but it also has a strategy to allow you to leverage the tools of choice that you're already using. In this Microsoft realm, people might be using the new project for the web. They might be using the traditional project professional on the desktop. They might be using an Azure DevOps. In a non-Microsoft stuff, they might be using a Jira or something like that for execution. And there are a connected strategy in OnePlan that allows those things to feed into the holistic portfolio that OnePlan is going to provide you. Now, capabilities, make no mistake, the traditional things that you want to do are here. And to meet you where you're at, you can leverage the capabilities to the degree that you'd like to. Most people go into portfolio management because they want at least portfolio visibility. And that portfolio visibility can be list views like this, maybe with or without timelines. For the more agile-oriented folks, you may look at your portfolio for more flexible board views with columns and swim lanes and dependencies. And maybe even product-oriented type of portfolio roadmaps that people can kind of get that roadmap perspective with swim lanes and the roadmap bars, and even visuals from the dependencies that you might want to have. There's also resource capacity planning. So if you're using different methods, you got to come together with some common mechanism to do resource capacity planning and tracking. And OnePlan provides that vehicle to do that. Same holds true with financial tracking. Well, how are you going to track financials is up to you. Not all people track financials within their PPM system or their portfolio management system. But many organizations do want to track detailed cost categories and different cost types like original budgets versus revised forecasts and actuals, or even forecast benefits or revenue. Those types of things are available to you here in OnePlan. And on the execution side, from the bottom up, the ability to do on the left here, the work plan that's more waterfall type of oriented, or maybe on the right, more agile plan oriented that are more backlogs and sprints, and consistent status reporting regardless of what you're doing there, and even using board capabilities within the agile plans to be able to look at those things in a more agile fashion. These are things that OnePlan provides. Now, optionally, you can bring in things from, say, Planner and Project for the web, or Azure DevOps or Jira, and a variety of other tools, but that's optional, but it can accommodate things that you already have entrenched within your organization without having to change what you're doing there. And alternatively, team member participation and collaboration. Having team members be able to go into a My Work area and be able to give you feedback on everything they've been assigned to, whether they're tasks or backlog items or issues or risks or change requests or things like that. And the ability to have a homepage with insights and what requires your attention. And if you have the need, having a timesheet available to you to provide actuals and feedback, whether it be for capitalization, whether it be for billability, whether it be for chargebacks in your organization. Those things are all here at the core. So even if you're doing the basics, portfolio visibility and managing schedules only, say, for example, OnePlan can let you start there. but it gives you a platform where you can grow into these other things should you aspire to do that. Now, getting into this crawl area where we're talking about adaptive, you really have to have teams being able to execute how they need to with the methodologies or frameworks and the tools that they want to do, but have leadership get the visibility they need. And in this particular case, notice I've got multiple methodologies, some iterative, some waterfall. I have multiple tools, maybe Azure DevOps, Project, Jira, OnePlan itself even. And then having those things roll up into these initiatives that maybe roll into a hierarchy of your choice. In this case, sometimes we see very frequently programs and then portfolios within those programs. And these may align ultimately up to the different strategies and objectives of the organization. The key here is that the teams get to do what they need to do with the right tools for what they're doing, but leadership gets the visibility that they want. And even in that case where we talked about the people that are striving to go fully agile, you know, the teams, even if they're all doing agile and they might be using a variety of tools or maybe just doing it all in one plan, the idea is that there is still the ability to get leadership what it wants, where the teams might be talking about metrics that are more agile oriented, burn ups and burn downs of velocity, et cetera, where leadership may still want the language of the business, more financial metrics, maybe more milestones and delivery dates, and other things that they need to align with the strategic nature of what they're doing and the operational needs of the business. And OnePlan is designed to give you this adaptive project and portfolio management in OnePlan. And this could include just more traditional project and portfolio management, but really extends to saying, can we accommodate the things that we described in those last slides? Having multiple portfolios for different parts of the business or for different types of work in the business. Mixed methodologies and frameworks, execution tools of choice, and can all be done in OnePlan if desired. But in this case, the graphic shows that the portfolio level at the top, program and portfolio management, financial and capacity planning, investment approval, all the way through the time when you decide how you're going to execute this project. In this case, it's showing a Microsoft project plan for a waterfall plan and an Azure DevOps plan for Agile planning, both of them feeding into a common portfolio, giving you that hybrid of both tool and methodology. The same thing could hold true if you're using Jira, same use case, and the ability to have the people that are doing Agile and Jira keep doing what they're doing, but have it all feed into a common portfolio management solution. And even if it's all Agile and you may be using different Agile tools, that same use case applies. We have some customers that are using Azure DevOps and Jira and other things that are feeding into a portfolio, and maybe doing some of the stuff just in OnePlan itself. The key is having that adaptive and flexible mode is supported in OnePlan. And this is all enabled by OnePlan's integration, OnePlan's OneConnect feature that allows us to have productized connectors in the software development arena. And you can see Azure DevOps and Jira in there. You can even integrate with things like financial systems or traditional work management and project management tools or service management tools, et cetera. The key is that by having these productized connectors in place, it seamlessly brings that data together into your portfolio without having to have excess user intervention to make that happen or manual mashups of that data. The other level of integration that we're talking about in this adaptive realm is to stay working in the tools that you work in every day. OnePlan is designed to be just used in your browser, if you like, but it is designed to have a fused experience if you're working in Power Apps for your overall project and portfolio management. If you're in Teams, it is an authorized Microsoft Teams application, so you can work with OnePlan in the context of your use of Teams. And not only can we integrate data at the data level with Azure DevOps, OnePlan has extensions so that you can actually use OnePlan's capabilities right from within Azure DevOps. And the same holds true for Microsoft Dynamics, as well as for in SharePoint. And in a non-Microsoft realm, we have these same types of extensions available to you when you're working in Jira. So the key there is not only is there data level, but there's user experience fusing to actually have a user continue to work where they want, but take advantage of the OnePlan capabilities. On the next realm, if we think about going to more of a walk scenario, that's when we layer in strategic execution and alignment with OnePlan. So for example, building strategic execution plans, having OKRs or objectives and key results in here, having leadership be able to monitor and work with strategic execution on the strategic plan that's been put in place, but then also accommodate strategic alignment with the projects in the project portfolio. If we take that to the next level, this same OnePlan strategy that you put here within the OKRs, for example, allows you to take the crawl, move to a walk, and start doing more aligned types of things. For example, we have our execution portfolio, which we described earlier on. We have our strategic plan that's put together in OnePlan as well. But it's the alignment and the synchronization of these things to make sure that we're working on the right things and that leadership can see that the things that we have to accommodate are tracking well into achieving those strategies. So we get that bi-directional byplay, and that alignment leads to better outcomes and better results for us as an organization. Now, full SPM, or full strategic portfolio management, is also available to us in OnePlan, including enterprise architecture elements. And what do we mean by that? When we start talking about technology and other assets or other things or elements that need to be factored in, we might have an application portfolio that has a direct bearing on our strategies and our execution. We might have a product portfolio. We might have a portfolio of business capabilities that we are managing or directing to. In an agile world, we might have value streams or other elements that you might come up with that are configurable within the solution. And the key there is that OnePlan can add these capabilities into the mix for you. For example, let's say there's a business objective in the strategic plan and the objectives and key results, and it might be, say, grow revenue by 15%. We have key results that might say tangible measures or indicators that we're making physical progress towards achieving this objective. Those might be then aligned with that business objective and help us track our progress towards achieving that. Now, those key results in turn might be aligned with something in our enterprise architecture, like a capability or business capability, which in this case says order processing. All right, our order processing capability needs to be viewed, and is it sufficient to support what we're trying to do with grow revenue? In that case, there may be applications associated as well that need to support this process to get us to where we want to be, an order system or a picking system, for example, that might have to be modernized or enhanced in order to support our goals. And then there's the initiatives themselves. And those in turn may be aligned with one or all of these things so that we factor in what needs to take place in order for us to have a successful outcome, or even as a set of parameters to decide whether or not we're ready to do something now as opposed to later, for example, and prioritize it accordingly. So with OnePlan, this is all done there. The strategic plan that we talked about, the enterprise architecture that we talked about, is available in there, and I'll demonstrate that to you where we can have those different portfolios for those enterprise architecture elements. And then the project portfolio that's all aligned and related to one another within OnePlan. Now, as it gets more complex and you add more elements in, they're all interrelated to one another, it helps to be able to visualize what that means. And natively in OnePlan, we have the OnePlan visualizer that will show you in configurable views how things interrelate with one another. For example, how a strategy is related to different things within their downstream, or a project runway to show us how projects are related to different elements, whether it be strategy or different enterprise architecture elements. All help in visualizing for decision making and also tracking what's needed. Also reports that go along in that regard to give us those same types and other visualizations as well. Now, probably in the full SPM mode, another thing that people can take advantage of as they mature is more what-if scenario modeling. And OnePlan does have a modeler in there that allows you to capture and save different scenario models, do different models for different specific business units or different classes of project, apply constraints and targets for things like cost and benefits and effort and resource loads, and then view with those scenarios what make it in and out in any given scenario. What things can we do? What things can't we do given the certain constraints of budgets and resources that we have? And then even be able to compare those scenarios. So over here, I've got a what-if scenario that's showing some financial indicators. I have multiple scenarios that can be compared below here. And then I also have the ability to see, do we have the resources and the capacity to do those things within those scenarios, and save a variety of scenarios to compare. The key here is that you can leverage a good chunk of what you already own. If you're using things like the Microsoft Cloud and you authenticate into that with Azure Active Directory, and you're using Teams or you're using project for the web, Azure DevOps, and other Microsoft technologies, you can use those things and augment that with what OnePlan is providing to you along the way. So with that, I will get into a demonstration. So where this is all going to start with is at that portfolio. And we talked about in the crawl stage, that portfolio might be more traditional project portfolio management, as you see a simple list of projects and epics in here that may make up your portfolio. And you might have a variety of different views. This one's more KPI oriented in a project summary, but we have some that are more financial oriented or effort oriented, etc. You might also notice that we have what we call plan types here, where we've called them projects and epics, but the terminology you choose to use is yours. And you can put portfolio plan hierarchies in here with different plan types, where these project epics roll up into programs, which also roll up into portfolios. And we can look at those from different views as well. Also notice in this adaptive crawl stage that we have icons to the left-hand side here that indicate whether or not this particular project or initiative is connected to another tool. So for example, I've got this particular epic that is getting data from Azure DevOps. I got this particular project that's getting data from Project Professional. I have another one here that's getting both data from Azure DevOps and Project Professional and is connected to a team site for collaboration and content. And also notice there's some that don't have any icons at all, meaning that they're being fully managed to the fullest extent right within OnePlan here itself. Once again, kind of depicting that adaptive approach with the tool of choice and the approaches of choice. So for example, if I come into here and I look at this from a flat view, or whether I go into here and look at maybe a portfolio summary that gives me a more hierarchical view, where I have different portfolios and then programs within those portfolios and then projects and epics within those programs, I can have these things dedicated here in any way I like, rolling up and summarizing the way that I need, and even doing more subsequent grouping that's not in the hierarchy, maybe by things like product lines and other things that you might want to have, and you're not limited in any way by the number and amount of metadata you have to categorize and classify as projects for that purpose. But for today, I'm going to drill into a specific project that we have here called social networking integration. And what's nice about this is you can configure the details of a project for what you want to capture in that project. So this detail page allows you to establish for this plan type a specific process flow or phase or gate flow that you might want to go through, and the ability to advance those things definitively based upon permissions. It also gives you the ability to categorize your metadata in here on how you want to classify by things like by business unit, who the manager is, who the sponsor is, what the goals are, what category of project it might be. All things that you can choose what those categorizations are, as well as other details around here like a business case narrative, or maybe some snapshots of how the project's progressing overall. And this can be different depending on the different plan types you set in here. But the idea here is that you can capture all the data you want around these in an adaptive mode, depending on the nature and the type of project. Now, to focus on the adaptive side of this, let me go into a work plan for this particular project. And in this, just like we have plan types up at the portfolio level, down at the details of a schedule here within OnePlan, we also have the concept of work types. And here, for example, I'm in a schedule work type right now. And if I expand this out, you see that I have a more waterfall type of schedule here. And this waterfall plan allows me to plan in a more traditional way if that's the type of project that I'm on and what I want to work with. I can show this project with or without a Gantt chart representation as we traditionally want to see. And I can view it in a variety of different ways. It also allows me to either build it right in here from a template, or I can bring it in from another data source. This one was built here directly in OnePlan, but if you enable the connectors from OnePlan, you could select a connection type and connect this to a project for the web plan, a planner plan, or a project professional plan, which are the three I have enabled in this particular environment. And you have the option to have those be the source through our connectors for what you see here on the screen, which would look exactly the same if it came from project here as it would if it came and was built right here within OnePlan. There's also the concept of a backlog work type. So if you're doing more agile planning, you can actually build in that backlog work type. You can actually build your backlogs right here in OnePlan. In this case, you notice that as I expand this out, I have features and user stories that are contributing to this. I have things like story points and effort hours, maybe sprints allocated to those things here on the right-hand side, and even be able to look at those things in a variety of ways. But once again, this Agile plan that is here can be either built right here in OnePlan itself, or using the connector technology to source that data from Azure DevOps or from Jira. And it's your choice whether you optionally would rather use these tools to be the source that rolls into this portfolio overall. Now, one of the advantages of bringing this all into OnePlan as opposed to having it all in one place for reporting and visibility in the portfolio is that you then get to layer on things like resource planning, meaning that you can do resource capacity plans in terms of hours or percentages or FTEs, and be able to plan in generics or teams or in named individuals as you come through here, and even potentially find replacements for overloaded resources or replace generic resources with named individual resources. Once again, a common mechanism and a common format, regardless of the execution tool is different that's bringing the data into OnePlan. And the same holds true with our financial plans. If you want to track financials and track things like budget versus actuals and those types of things, you can track those things in here. And independent of whatever you're doing in the nature of the execution tool you're using, you can put the cost categories and the cost types of budgets and forecasted actuals and even benefits and revenue in here and track those in a singular place here in your portfolio. Another advantage consistently bringing these together into an adaptive world here is the ability on reporting and be able to do things like have status reports. So a consistent status report format, regardless of where the data is coming from, so that these can be a more natural output of the process, that you can submit these and save a history of the different status reports over time and do trending analysis, and even put these things out for other audiences in PDF or Word or send them out in the body of an email. So the idea here is that you can get this stuff pulled together into one place in this adaptive crawl world. And you don't have to use all the dimensions I just showed you. If it's just about bringing the plans in and we're getting visibility rolled up to the portfolio, that may be enough to start. Another area that's here as a precursor, if you're thinking about intake and how projects get onboarded, you can actually come in here and have lists of ideas or requests, and you can bring them into the mix, and you can fill out forms in here to get these things and business case narratives done and establish it through an approval cycle, such that when you're ready to go, you can actually promote this to a project at the right time and use this as a funnel for making that happen. So those are some of the dimensions of what you can use in an adaptive world moving forward to bring those worlds together in OnePlan in that kind of crawl stage. And there's different probably levels of crawl that different people might come in from. Now, if we want to add that strategic alignment piece, this is where we go into a My Strategy area. And this is where we talked about the objectives and key results would be one mechanism, but you can structure your strategic plan how you like in OnePlan. In this case, you'll see that I have objectives. In this case, I got launched new products successfully. And in this OKRs, I've got key results which support this objective, which are more tangible measures of, are we making physical progress towards achieving that objective by the measures that we're using to gauge that. And if I go in, say, for example, and drill into this particular strategy, you can also configure in here, and we have some templates to get you started of specific objective information on things like status and priority and goals and how you're doing on the current metrics, and maybe some description of the objective itself, and even put time boxes and time frames on the objectives on when to achieve them, and whether or not the benefits are being achieved and how we're prioritizing these things. But notice there's also a section of associations that says it's associated to those key results within that strategic portfolio. And from here, even, I don't have to go back out to the portfolio. I could drill into one of the associated key results. Let's move into that, create 20 customer case studies as a key result. And in this particular case, you might have the metrics and the data that you want around this key result. And the metric can either be a number or a percentage or a dollar frame. And you can have targets and current metrics around how well we're doing and how much of that we've accomplished so far. And it can also be further associated with maybe either ideas in that request area that we talked about earlier on. This key result can also be associated with the projects and epics in our project portfolio, even though our strategic execution plan, our portfolio here, is a little bit separate, but it's aligned, saying that to achieve this key result, it's aligned with these 6 different initiatives or projects and epics that we're working on. And we can work with that as we see fit. So for example, let's just say I drill into from here that social networking integration, which is aligned coincidentally with this key result. I can drill into that, and from that side of the coin, here I am at the details page for that project we already looked at prior. And if I go in and look at how this aligns with strategy or those key results, it's bi-directional. So in this case, I can see that this project is aligned with this Create 20 customer case studies. I can also see that in this case, I've decided to do some financial splitting of budget, saying I'm allocating 50% of that budget towards this particular key result, aligning that with that and splitting another 50% with another key result that this is supporting. And we'll talk about other things in here like applications in a little bit, but the key there is that we're aligned all the way through from the strategic level and the different layers there down to the project portfolio that we see here. And if I come into the reporting side of this thing, we talked about visualizations. And in here, this is where I can come in and look at a visualization of dependencies, for example. This social networking integration plan has 2 other plans that are predecessors to it that need to happen before we can do this. And there's another plan that is down here that is dependent on it that we need to consider as we go through this. And the more encompassing runway view, this one's going to take me, and it's going to show me that this particular project is aligned with key results, which in turn are aligned with different strategies or objectives. It's also aligned with different products and different applications that we have to consider and other business capabilities that we have to factor in or modernize or update in order to have success with this particular project. And we can get these types of visualizations anywhere we're at in OnePlan. So with that being said, let me take you to the enterprise architecture area here within OnePlan. And this is where you can establish other portfolios. In this particular case, in this example, we've got 4 of them. I've got a product portfolio with different products. I've got a capabilities portfolio with different business capabilities. I've got value streams that we might align our work streams for more continuous flow of things. And I have applications or an application portfolio here with specific applications in there. And these are the things that we can align with as we go through. For example, if I go into an application, just like with the projects, you can establish details that are appropriate for this type of portfolio. And each of them can have their own data. So for example, the things you want to capture around an application, like the characteristics and the categorization of that, a description of the overall application, maybe an application vision, mission, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, prioritization of that application, maybe a life cycle that we have or a life span that we have for that, a budget and overall cost of ownership that we're striving for. And on top of that, different strategies that it supports, as well as different projects and initiatives that it supports. And this is by no means all encompassing. You can capture the things in here as well as the overall life cycle that you have for a particular application in your organization. So these things are all reportable from within here. If I go back to the portfolio and go into, say, a product, right? And I go into, say, this cloud marketplace product, the details around here might be a little bit different. This is where we might have different information regarding product-oriented types of things that we have for, say, product vision and other things like that, and align that as we see fit across that. So the key is you can have as many different entities or elements in your business or enterprise architecture that you see fit to relate to those. And once again, that visualization, if I go to visualize, say, what's aligned with or associated with this particular application, I can go right from here and go visualize at any given point in time that I actually have an application here that is dependent on this application. I do have a runway that says this application is aligned with this key result, which is really aligned with this particular strategy. And I can see that there's a number of projects or epics that it is aligned with as well. So once again, to be able to visualize these things, to factor into your decision making and making sure that your considerations are complete and thorough, a visualizer helps tremendously. And then lastly, I mentioned the modeler. And this is really allowing us to do what if scenario modeling. So in that, if I drill into a particular model, you can establish different models in here for different organizations or groupings of projects or whatever you see fit. It's very flexible in that regard. In this particular case, I can see all the projects that are in this model in case there's 104 of them. And in this particular case, I won't initiate it from scratch, but let's just say I started and saved a model or scenario that was based on a $20 million budget. Well, given the scenario that I went through, this $20 million budget told me that out of those 104, I can only do 75 of those projects. And I can determine what's in and maybe what we can't do as what's been deselected prioritization-wise or by our own personal selection, what we couldn't do to fit within that $20 million budget. And you can see the budget in this scenario for what's in is just under $20 million. We could also have a $25 million budget that basically says, what if we could do that? Well, if we could get another $5 million, it looks like we could do more projects. We can do 92 of those or somewhere near that. And as we go look through these and we save these different scenarios, and you can save as many of these as you like, we can actually go in and compare. So for example, as I do a compare analysis, I can set targets. So for example, the target budget here was 20 million. The target committed effort was 125,000 hours. The target benefits were $50 million. And you can see in each of these scenarios, the 20 million and the $25 million, some of them meet or exceed or come up short in that regard. But the net of this, in just this simple case, is that if I could find another $5 million so that my budget allowed me to spend 25 instead of 20 million, the $20 million budget got me $43 million worth of benefit, right? Where the $25 million budget got me $53 million of benefit, meaning for another $5 million, I got another $10 million in benefit. Is it worth us trying to pursue and getting that additional funding? So just a simple case. There's all kinds of things we could look at here, including what resources would be required to do this scenario and do we have them, as well as the dollars. Do we have the dollars to do that within that? And what are the total dollars and where are they going to come from and where are we going to spend them? So with that, I think I'll wrap up on the demonstration part of this and go into summarization and next steps. So today we talked about how traditional PPM has provided significant advances for organizations and that strategic portfolio management is now expanding on PPM and adapting for modern digital businesses. Strategic portfolio management brings together business capabilities, investments, programs, digital and physical products, applications, and projects all into the same mix for consideration. And OnePlan provides the most complete set of SPM capabilities on the Microsoft platform. And it provides a variety of solution templates for different capabilities and different customer needs. Meet you where you're at. It integrates with other tools and solutions and with teams for content and collaboration. The main message here today is a rich set of capabilities, but OnePlan is designed to meet you where you're at and enable your path to growth and maturity. So this crawl, walk, run approach, OnePlan has a role in all of it. OnePlan can do just the adaptive pieces that we showed at the outset. It can do strategic alignment with your projects as a next step of maturity and growth, and then full SPM as you see fit or to whatever you strive for in the time frame that you strive for. You won't outgrow the capabilities in OnePlan. Now, we do this because we're passionate about this. We're not a general systems integrator. We focus on project and portfolio management. Microsoft has recognized us as their global PPM partner of the year 3 of the last 4 years. And the year that we weren't, we were actually the finalist in that. And we're also recognized by Gartner and Infotech and other analysts for the thought leadership and the things that we're doing from our solutions. We do webinars like this all the time. Our next webinars, we have 2 actually we're doing on December 8th for different audiences. We're doing one that's more vertical industry focused for strategic portfolio management for biotech and pharma. And also at an hour later, we're actually part of the Microsoft webinar series. And that we are going to talk about lessons learned for customers using Project and the Web Accelerator that they have by augmenting it with OnePlan, which is more of a Power Apps extension that we talked about on that fused UI message. Now, you can try OnePlan today in a free trial, and we're happy to work with you and chaperone you through that. We have different templates. If you want the full strategic portfolio management experience, there's a template for that. If you just want to do the more crawl adaptive piece, there's a template for that. But if you're curious, we're happy to work with you. Reach out to us and we're happy to navigate that for you. We can also, if you're not ready to do that, just have a discussion with you and do a free roadmap workshop to talk to you about your current use of tools, your requirements and your aspirations, and see what it would take to get you in a solution like this and what it would take, both technology-wise and from a total cost of ownership. You may already own a good chunk of what you need. And so there's the free trial, there's the roadmap workshop, and even if you're not there, I give you a very high-level generalized demo today. We can schedule a personalized one-on-one demo that focuses more on your pain points, your requirements, your use cases, and things that are more germane to your organization. If you want, just reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai. We're happy to assign somebody to you to conduct that demonstration for you. Or if you just want to research us a little bit more, go to oneplan.ai, our website, and there's a bunch of information out there that you can drill into. So I'd like to thank you for your time today. You know, I know it's hard to carve time out of your day. You can reach out to the general contact number, or if you want to reach out to me directly, you can. You will get a copy of these slides and a link to the recording, as was stated earlier in the webinar. Ultimately, our goal is to really engage with you. We are invested in success and outcomes. And by that we mean we're invested in your success and your outcomes as customers. So thanks again for your time, and give OnePlan a shot. It's doing some great things for many organizations today. Have a great day.